understanding loss with a wider view. Every human being, no matter who they are or where they come from, will one day face loss. Sometimes, it arrives quietly, like the gradual fading of our health or energy as we grow older. Other times, it comes suddenly. A relationship ending, a job opportunity slipping away, or possessions we once valued being taken from us. In these moments, the heart can feel heavy. We may ask ourselves, why me? Why now? It is natural to feel sadness, confusion, even despair when something we hold dear is gone. Yet the teachings of the Dharma remind us that loss is not a punishment. It is not the universe turning against us, nor a sign that we are less fortunate than others. Instead, loss is part of the larger rhythm of life, governed by cause and effect, what Buddhism calls the law of karma. This is not a mysterious force to be feared, but simply the natural unfolding of actions and conditions. Just as planting seeds leads to harvest, our past actions, choices, and circumstances shape what comes to us and what leaves us. When we experience loss, it is easy to focus only on the empty space left behind. But life does not end there. The Dharma teaches us that every loss brings another kind of arrangement. Something new begins to form, even if it is hidden from our eyes at first. Imagine a tree in autumn. Its leaves fall, leaving branches bare. To the casual observer, it might look as if the tree has only lost, becoming lifeless and exposed. But in truth, the falling leaves make way for new buds that will emerge in spring. The loss is not the end. It is a preparation for renewal. Think also of a person who loses a job. In the first days, fear and uncertainty may feel overwhelming. Yet, over time, that very loss may lead them to discover a path they had never considered before. Perhaps a career that brings more meaning, or the courage to follow a long-neglected passion. In the moment of loss, the new arrangement is invisible. But slowly, like dawn rising after the darkest night, it reveals itself. This is the wider view we are invited to hold, that loss and gain are not two separate realities, but two sides of the same unfolding process. When something leaves, space is created for something else to enter. When one chapter closes, another quietly begins. This does not mean we should deny our feelings. Pain is real and grieving is natural. The Dharma does not ask us to suppress our emotions, but to see them clearly and with compassion. In recognizing the deeper truth of cause and effect, we begin to understand that what feels like an ending may also be the beginning of a new arrangement. So, as we move forward together in this reflection, let us open our hearts to this possibility. That behind every loss lies the seed of another path. That life, in its quiet wisdom, is always seeking balance. And that by looking more deeply, we may find peace not only in what we gain, but also in what we let go. The principle of cause and effect. When we look closely at life, one truth becomes clear. Nothing happens without a reason. Every moment, every change, every encounter is shaped by causes and conditions that have come together. Think of it this way. If you place a mango seed in the soil, care for it with water and sunlight, it will one day grow into a mango tree. But no matter how much we wish otherwise, it will never produce apples. The outcome is consistent with the cause. In the same way, our experiences, whether joyful or painful, do not appear out of nowhere. They are the natural results of actions, thoughts, and circumstances, both seen and unseen. When we experience gain in life, perhaps a new opportunity, a warm friendship, or improved health, it is not random good luck. Something in the past, maybe our efforts, our kindness, or the support of others, has created the conditions for it to appear. And when we face loss, whether it is the loss of wealth, health, or relationships, it is also not by accident. That, too, arises from conditions that have ripened. This is what the Dharma calls the principle of cause and effect. It is simple in essence, yet deeply profound. Just as the seasons follow one another, and just as day turns to night, our lives unfold through this natural rhythm of causes leading to results. Loss, then, is not meaningless. It is not a punishment from the universe, nor is it proof that life is unfair. Instead, it is one stage in a larger process that continues to unfold. Imagine a river. Sometimes it carries us forward with ease, and at other times it pulls us into turbulence. But the river is always moving, and every turn has a direction. In the same way, each loss carries us toward another arrangement that life is preparing for us. When we understand cause and effect in this way, our perspective shifts. Instead of asking, "Why did this happen to me?" we can begin to reflect, "What causes and conditions may have led to this, and what new seeds can I plant now for the future?" This shift brings peace, because it takes us out of helplessness and puts us back into awareness. For example, if someone loses a job, it may feel devastating in that moment. But looking through the lens of cause and effect, we see that this loss opens space for new conditions to arise. Perhaps a more suitable path, a healthier environment, or a skill we were meant to develop. The ending of one chapter is simply the preparation for another. Understanding cause and effect does not take away the pain of loss, but it softens it. It reminds us that even when something precious is gone, life is not empty. The process is still unfolding, and the next arrangement may already be on its way. So, let us hold this teaching gently in our hearts. Whatever we experience, whether gain or loss, is not random. It is the natural unfolding of cause and effect. And in every ending, there is already the seed of a new beginning. Loss as a doorway, not an end. When we lose something important, it is very natural to feel that the story has ended. A relationship ends, a career shifts, a loved one passes away, and it feels as if a door has closed forever. The weight of that silence, the emptiness it leaves behind, can be overwhelming. But here is a gentle truth. Loss is never the final word. What appears to be an ending is, in fact, the beginning of a different chapter. Just as day turns to night and night back to day, life also moves in cycles. What falls away creates space for what is yet to arrive. Think of a tree in autumn. Its leaves dry, fall, and the branches are left bare against the cold wind. If we were to stop there, we might say, the tree has lost everything. But we know from experience that spring will surely come. New buds will appear, blossoms will unfold, and fruit will grow again. The falling of leaves was not the death of the tree. It was simply part of its transformation. In the same way, the things we lose in life are not always signs of failure or punishment. They are stages within a larger process. Sometimes losing a job, as painful as it feels, removes us from a path that no longer serves us. That space, once empty, becomes an invitation to explore new directions, to discover talents we never used, or to move toward work that better aligns with our true nature. Or think of the ending of a relationship. At first, it can feel unbearable, as though our world has collapsed. But often, when the grief softens, we realize that this ending has opened a space for deeper self-understanding. We learn more about what we value, what we need, and what we can give. Later, this clarity prepares us for healthier, more meaningful connections. What seemed like loss was actually a teacher, guiding us toward growth. Loss, then, is not a wall blocking our path. It is a doorway. The pain we feel is real, but it is not the whole picture. Beyond that doorway lies transformation, new opportunities, new insights, new ways of being. To understand this is to shift our perspective. Instead of clinging to what has ended, we can learn to trust the unfolding of cause and effect. Just as the falling leaves nourish the soil for new life, our experiences of loss prepare the ground for what is yet to come. So when we face loss, let us pause and breathe. Let us not see it as a punishment, nor as a meaningless accident. It is part of the natural rhythm of existence. Every loss reshapes us, deepens us, and guides us forward. In this way, loss is not the end of the journey. It is the opening of a new doorway. The hidden compensation of life. Life has a quiet way of restoring balance, even when we cannot see it in the moment. What disappears often returns in another form, sometimes more meaningful than what was lost. Yet, when we are caught in the middle of loss, it is natural to feel as though the balance is broken forever. We grieve, we question, and we wonder why life feels so unfair. But if we look deeper, we may discover that every loss carries within it a hidden form of compensation. It may not always arrive in the way we expect, nor at the time we wish for, but life has a rhythm, a current that keeps moving, gently guiding us back into balance. Think of a farmer planting seeds. The ground must first seem empty after the seeds are buried. For a while, nothing appears to be happening. Yet beneath the soil, new life is quietly forming. In the same way, when something is taken from us, we may not recognize that life is preparing a new growth, waiting for the right season to emerge. Consider the loss of wealth. On the surface, it may feel like nothing but hardship and insecurity. But in many cases, such loss teaches resilience, the ability to adapt, to simplify, and to appreciate life beyond material things. That resilience, once developed, becomes a kind of wealth no one can take away. Or think of the loss of social status. When recognition fades or influence disappears, it may wound our pride. Yet hidden within that experience is the gift of humility. Humility is not weakness, it is clarity. It allows us to see ourselves and others more truthfully, without the distortions of ego. In this way, what seems like a fall may actually open the door to wisdom and freedom. Even painful emotional losses carry their own quiet compensation. A broken relationship can feel like the heart has been shattered beyond repair. But when time passes and reflection deepens, many discover that such endings created space for self-understanding. We learn what we truly value, what we truly need, and how to love with greater sincerity. That very pain may be the seed of future connection, stronger and more genuine than before. This is why, in many spiritual teachings, suffering is not seen as meaningless. Rather, it is seen as a teacher. Every loss carries within it the seed of learning, and every pain holds the possibility of transformation. The challenge is that, in the moment, our vision is clouded. We see only the subtraction, not the quiet preparation for a greater addition. Think back on your own life. How many times have you looked at an old disappointment and realized later that it guided you to where you needed to be? Perhaps a job you desperately wanted slipped away, only to lead you to a path more aligned with your true purpose. Perhaps a relationship ended, and at the time it felt unbearable. Yet years later you could see it had opened the way for deeper growth and new beginnings. In this way, what seems like loss is often life's way of rearranging things, clearing what no longer serves us, and preparing the ground for something new to take root. The hidden compensation is not always obvious, but it is always there, waiting to be recognized with patient eyes. So when we face loss, let us remember, subtraction is not the final word. Often, it is only the preparation for a greater addition, a hidden blessing waiting to be revealed. The shift from resistance to acceptance. When we experience loss in life, the first reaction most of us have is resistance. We feel a strong need to hold on, to fight against what is slipping away. But if we look closely, we will see that much of our suffering does not actually come from the loss itself. It comes from the struggle, from the tight grip we refuse to release. Imagine holding water in your hand. If you rest your palm gently, the water can stay there for a while. But the moment you squeeze your fist tightly, the the water escapes through your fingers even faster. In the same way, the harder we cling to things, relationships, wealth, status, even our own ideas, the more quickly they slip away, and the greater the pain we feel in the process. This clinging is natural. It comes from a deep human desire for security and certainty. We want to believe that if we hold tightly enough, nothing will change. But life by its very nature is change. Everything we experience, from our bodies to our possessions to the people we love, is subject to change. To resist this truth is like trying to stop the tide with our bare hands. The ocean does not obey, and neither does time. So what happens when we begin to soften our grip? When instead of fighting the flow, we learn to let it move through us. This is where acceptance arises. Acceptance does not mean passivity, nor does it mean giving up on life. It is not resignation. True acceptance is a form of wisdom. It is the clear recognition that what has already changed cannot be reversed by our resistance, but it can become the opening for something new. Think of a tree in the middle of a storm. If the tree insists on absolute rigidity, it risks breaking under the force of the wind. But if the tree bends, if it yields just enough, it survives. In the same way, acceptance allows us to bend with the winds of life, rather than snapping under their pressure. When we shift from resistance to acceptance, we create space. Space in the mind, space in the heart. And in this space, life's new arrangements can appear. For example, losing a job may feel devastating in the moment. But if we resist less and accept more, we may discover that the loss leads us to new skills, new opportunities, even a new calling that aligns more deeply with who we are. Losing a relationship may break our heart, but over time, acceptance opens the door to self-discovery, to deeper compassion, and perhaps even to healthier bonds in the future. This shift is not easy. It takes practice. It requires us to pause, to breathe, and to remind ourselves, this too is part of the flow of life. I may not see the new arrangement yet, but it is already taking shape. When we trust this, the pain of resistance begins to soften, and what once felt unbearable slowly becomes a teacher. Acceptance is not about weakness. It is about courage. It takes courage to face change without trying to control every detail. It takes courage to say, I do not know what comes next, but I will meet it with openness. And in this courage, we find freedom. So let us remember, pain is natural, but suffering is optional. The moment we stop fighting against loss, we begin to see the hidden arrangements life has prepared for us. In acceptance, we are not defeated, we are transformed. Learning to trust life's rearrangements. When we speak about trusting life, many people misunderstand it as doing nothing, as if trust were a passive waiting, a resignation to fate. But true trust is not passive at all. It is an active opening of the heart. It is a quiet strength that allows us to stand calmly even when we cannot see the path ahead. Think about a time when something you deeply wanted did not happen. Perhaps it was a job you hoped for, a relationship you cherished, or an opportunity you thought was essential for your happiness. In that moment, it might have felt like the world had turned against you. The closed door seemed like rejection, like loss. Yet, if you look back, you may realize that the path you were forced to take instead led you to growth, wisdom, or safety you could not have imagined at the time. A closed door today may actually be life's way of protecting us. Imagine walking into a storm without shelter. If a door is locked, it may feel cruel, but it could also be shielding you from harm you cannot yet see. In this way, what feels like loss is sometimes a quiet act of care from life itself. Likewise, painful endings are not only about what is lost. They are also beginnings disguised in sorrow. When something ends, it clears space. That space may feel empty at first, but emptiness is what makes room for something new to arrive. Just as the soil must be cleared of weeds before fresh seeds can grow, our lives sometimes must go through endings to prepare us for the next season. Trusting this process requires courage. It asks us to loosen our grip on certainty, to release the constant demand to know why things happen as they do. Trust is the bridge between what we cannot see and what is yet to come. It is the willingness to walk across that bridge even when the other side is hidden by mist. In Buddhism, there is a teaching of dependent arising, which means that all things come into being because of causes and conditions. Nothing happens by itself and nothing is without reason. When something leaves our lives, it is not a meaningless accident. It arises from conditions that have ripened, and it creates new conditions for what is to follow. Understanding this helps us see that trust is not blind faith. It is in alignment with the natural law of cause and effect. We can practice this trust in daily life in small ways. For example, when plans fall apart, instead of immediately feeling frustrated, we can pause and ask, what might this delay be making space for? When we face rejection, we can gently remind ourselves, perhaps this door closed so that I may find another one better suited for me. These small shifts in perspective slowly build the strength of trust within us. Trust does not remove pain, but it softens it. It does not erase uncertainty, but it allows us to meet uncertainty with openness rather than fear. When we hold this attitude, life feels less like a battle to win and more like a river to flow with. Sometimes the current takes us to places we did not plan for, but if we learn to float with it rather than fight against it, we discover landscapes we could never have reached on our own. So, trusting life's rearrangements means allowing ourselves to be guided. It is not about giving up effort, but about releasing the demand to control outcomes. It is about walking forward with courage, knowing that every step, whether smooth or difficult, is part of a larger unfolding. And in that unfolding, nothing is ever truly wasted, and no loss is ever without meaning. Practicing mindfulness in times of loss. When loss arrives, it does not come quietly. It enters the heart like a heavy stone dropped into still water. The ripples of sadness, confusion, or even anger spread through our being, and it can feel as though the calm surface of life has been broken beyond repair. In these moments, the practice of mindfulness is not an escape, but a gentle companion. It is like a caring friend who sits beside us without words, reminding us that we do not need to resist what we are feeling. Instead of pushing away the pain or forcing ourselves to be strong, mindfulness invites us to simply be present, to breathe, to feel, and to allow the experience to move through us. When we sit quietly, even for just a few minutes, we begin to notice something important. Emotions are not fixed. They rise, they reach their peak, and then, in time, they soften. This is very much like the waves of the ocean. A wave may come crashing with great force, but no wave lasts forever. Another follows, and then another, but the ocean remains vast, deep, and unchanged at its core. In the same way, our awareness, the part of us that notices, remains steady even when emotions come and go. Take a moment now to imagine this practice. Sit down comfortably. Close your eyes if you wish. Place your attention gently on your breath. As you breathe in, notice the cool air entering. As you breathe out, feel the warmth leaving. Thoughts may come, memories may surface, perhaps even fresh tears may arise. Do not judge them. Do not chase them away. Let them flow through you like clouds drifting across the sky. In Buddhist teaching, mindfulness is often described as remembering to return to this present moment instead of being swept away by the past or pulled into the unknown future. This simple remembering is what allows us to stay balanced even in the midst of loss. When the mind says, "This is unbearable," mindfulness whispers, "This too is a moment, and moments change." When the heart cries out, "I cannot carry this," mindfulness gently reminds us, "Breathe, just this breath, then the next." Through this practice, we discover that mindfulness is not cold detachment, but warm presence. It does not erase pain, but it holds our pain with kindness. It is the lamp we carry into the dark corridors of loss, showing us that even in sorrow, there is still light. And perhaps most importantly, mindfulness creates space. Space for reflection, space for healing, and space for life's new arrangements to enter. Without this space, we close ourselves off in bitterness or despair. With mindfulness, however, we remain open, willing to see what life may bring next, even if we do not yet understand it. So when loss comes, whether it is the loss of a person, a dream, an opportunity, or simply the passing of a cherished season of life, let mindfulness be your companion. Sit quietly, breathe gently, feel what is here. Trust that, like every wave, this too will pass, and the ocean of awareness will remain vast and whole. Mindfulness, practiced in times of loss, is not just a technique. It is a way of remembering our deepest truth, that even in endings, there is always a path forward, always another arrangement unfolding beyond what we can see. Living with a renewed perspective. Life often teaches us through change. Sometimes that change comes as gain, and sometimes it comes as loss. If we hold too tightly to what is passing, we may feel as if the ground has disappeared beneath our feet. Yet when we pause and look closely, we can see that life is not only taking something away, it is also making space for something new to appear. Imagine holding a cup filled to the very brim with water. If you keep pouring more into it, nothing new can enter, the water simply spills over. In the same way, when our lives are filled with attachments, plans, or possessions we cannot let go of, there is little room for fresh possibilities. Loss, painful as it may be, is often life's way of gently emptying that cup, preparing us to receive something else. When a job ends, a relationship shifts, or even a cherished object is lost, it is natural to grieve. But after the initial wave of sorrow, there is also an opening, an invitation to ask, what new space has been created here? What is life asking me to see differently? This question does not deny the pain, but it transforms the way we hold it. Instead of seeing only an ending, we begin to glimpse the beginning that lies quietly within it. Consider the way autumn trees shed their leaves. To the eye, it may look like the tree is losing its beauty. The branches grow bare, the colors fade, and the forest seems empty. Yet, this very shedding makes way for spring. Without loss, there can be no renewal. In the same way, our own losses, though difficult, can serve as preparation for growth that we cannot yet see. This perspective helps us live with greater openness and gratitude. We begin to recognize that true wealth is not measured by how much we manage to hold on to, but by how gracefully we can move with the flow of life, the giving and the taking, the coming and the going. When we align ourselves with this rhythm, we discover a quiet peace that does not depend on circumstances staying the same. Loss, then, is not the final word. It is not the end of the story. Rather, it is an invitation, an opening to see the world with fresh eyes and a renewed heart. When we allow this renewal to happen, we often find that what we thought was a permanent ending becomes the doorway to a new chapter we never expected. So the next time you face loss, pause for a moment. Breathe deeply. Ask yourself, what space has just been created in my life? What new possibility might be waiting for me? By living with this perspective, we discover that every loss carries within it the seed of another arrangement, not as a replacement, but as a natural continuation of life's unfolding. Thank you for joining today's Buddha Light podcast. Remember, every loss is also the beginning of a new arrangement. May you carry this reflection into your days, with openness, gratitude, and courage. Stay with us for the next episode, where we will continue to uncover wisdom for everyday life. See you soon.